Hi guys, my name is Hugo and welcome back to my channel. Today I bring you my most disappointing books of 2020. I decided to not make the worst books of 2020 because I think some of these books are not bad, but they disappointed me in some ways. I was expecting more for them, or the plot that they promise is not what it seems, and let's discuss a little bit why they disappoint me and see which books I have here. The first book I want to show you is Inkspell by Cornelia Funk. I've read the whole trilogy from the Ink Heart and I love the first one. It was an amazing story, an amazing pace with amazing characters, amazing fight scenes, amazing action. And I was expecting the same for this one because the story is set on the Ink world and on the inside the book. If you don't know the plot of the book, we have in the first book Mo, who can bring characters to life by reading out loud the books, and accidentally he sent his wife to a book called Inkheart and sent out the villain and some other characters out. He's trying to track the book and protect that book from the villain because he wants to conquer Earth. And in the end of that book, we set up a little bit of the story, and in this one they go inside of the book of the Inkheart. So instead of they coming out, they go in, and I thought this will be an amazing story because it will show that world, and it will be, if in the action was amazing, imagine in a fantasy world with fairies and different creatures and different settings. But it disappointed me because the plot felt very flat. It didn't have necessary to be this long. It's a very thick book. It has 600 pages, I think, 670 pages. It's a very thick book, and I felt it suffers from the middle book syndrome, which is what I call between when the second book, it's just a link between the first and the third. It just creates some actions so we can justify the actions in the third, and it makes a bridge between to the first. Because the things that happened here were not relevant, it wasn't so enjoyable as the last ones. The action was not so fast and not so entertaining. Even the characters, there was a scene that really bothered me, and it's in the beginning of the book. If you don't want, skip just till the spoiler sign disappear. But Maggie goes inside of the book and she's very exciting. She's always talk about that, but after she arrives, she just, oh no, I want to go back. And it didn't make sense for me. Like, okay, you are a child, you are like 14 or something, maybe 15, but you were excited. Why, while in the moment that you arrived, pace 1 day, pace 2 days, start to feel homesick, but not in the instant that you arrived. It didn't make sense because 2 minutes ago you were excited to come. So what was the sense? It didn't make sense. Teenagers don't work like that. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book, but compared to the first one, it lacked a lot of the action, about a lot of the funny stuff, a lot of the important issues that I was looking for. I felt the actions and the plot was not very interesting at all. And well, the third was very good. I really enjoyed more the third one, but the second one was a little bit disappointed coming from the first one that I read. Another disappointing book, and this I can say it's a bad book, and it has a review here on channel. I'll link here up and down below. It's The Hunting of Greenwilder by Wendy Webb. I already did the review. I already did my little rant. It's not what it seems. The cover shows, the title shows, it should be a mystery, paranormal, horror story, but it has nothing about that. It's just a paranormal romance, but even the paranormal is not as paranormal as I wanted. It's very bad advertised. The story felt a little bit flat, sometimes confusing. The hunting is not there. I will not rant more about it, but I give it 1 star because it wasn't enjoyable. I usually start a book with 3-4 stars, more or less, and then it can go up or can go down. And it starts like, okay, it can be a 3, 4, and then it starts going down from 1/3 down to 2 to 1 at the end. That wasn't enjoyable at all. The writing is not bad, but it's not the best. It can be entertaining, but sometimes it's very confusing. I think the whole thing is that it has a lot of elements that may trick the persons to think it's a paranormal mystery ghost story, and there's nothing to do with that. It's just a cheesy romance, and in the end It's just that, it's nothing more than that, and I really did not enjoy it. But check my video, we'll have more thoughts on that. Okay, this series I was excited to read. I know a lot of people loved it. I want to love it too, but it didn't work for me. It was The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Kell, especially City of Bones. City of Ashes I like it a little bit more, but especially City of Bones. What I have problems with this series, the writing is not the best, but I usually am not a picky reader in that point. I didn't like Jace at all. I don't like Jace at all. I think he's not charming, he's not likable. I like Simon more, I like Isabel more, the side characters. Yeah, I like Clary. She's a little more sassy than the series, and I enjoy that. But things fall flat in the first, especially in these two. Things happen just because it happened. It doesn't explain things. Oh, she can just do stuff, and he can just do stuff because I know it can be explained later. But I wasn't enjoying this one, and I didn't enjoy this one. I gave it 3 stars. I think in this one I gave it 4 stars because I enjoyed it a little bit more. I still didn't finish the series. I have the 6 and I have the Infernal Devices because I've heard they are a little bit better. I'll give them a chance. I will finish and read them next year maybe. But he was disappointed because a lot of people love these books and I didn't connect it. I didn't connect with the characters, just with Simon, with Isabel, but Jace was not like, I didn't want the protagonist like that. Claire was a little bit more likable, but for me, but the things felt like, oh, she can do this because she can. There is no explanation. We don't have insight. Oh, she never thought demons before, but she's a badass. I know it's a YA story, but it starts to tingle me a little bit that some YA explain things and the others don't. And I know this is a older book. I know it's from 2008, 2010 maybe, and it was first published. I like to see this. He has beautiful maps. I really enjoy the maps, and the covers. That's the points I really enjoy. This was first published in 2008, so it's a different time, but I was expecting a little more. I will finish the series. I will read the Infernal Devices because I heard there are a bit more, but from all the hype that I heard about people loving the Shadowhunter series, loving everything, I was expecting to love more, and it disappointed me a little bit, especially the first one. The first one was the first impact, and I was like, okay, I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. It's not a bad book, but it wasn't good for me. And I read the second one and it was a little bit of an improvement, but yeah, it didn't work for now. But I will try to finish the 6th and then read the Infernal Devices. I know they can be read in a specifically order. Let's see, I'm not so excited to read the rest, but I want to give it a chance before Unholy. Another book that disappointed me, and I think it suffers from the same problem of Inkspell, was Warwicks Son by Rainbow Rowell. I loved Carry On. I didn't bought Carry On. It was a gift from the publisher. I was buying Loved, I think it was Loved by PC Cast and Kristen Cast from the House of Night, the Other World series. And they, in different websites from Portugal, the publisher or the company gives you a different book. It was like the Red Queen in one, Carry On in the other, another book in another publish, and I was like, oh, let's see what's more interesting. I know the Red Queen was a series, and I was not looking for starting a series. I really want to read Red Queen, but I was not on that mind, so I decided to go with Carry On. And after I started reading, I was doing my thesis, and I loved Carry On. I loved Carry On so much. I couldn't stop reading. It was funny, exciting, different. The characters, the setting, the magic system, it was amazing. I went everywhere with the book reading it, and I'm really excited when I heard there was a second coming out, and I was like, oh god, if it goes from the same way, even if it's a different story, I don't know what they can make, but it will be amazing. And I ordered it when I could, and I got it, and I started reading, and I was like, oh, this will be exciting. And then it starts slowly going bad. Not bad, but not for my tone. It lost a lot of the comical tone that they have, a lot of the main things. The problems that were happening in the beginning of the book were not solved in the end, and in the end was just a bridge between the first book and the third that will coming out, and I'm very excited to read that one. But for me, didn't feel like, I was expecting a little bit more. I give it 4 stars. It's not a bad book at all, but comparing with Carry On, I was like, I wanted a little bit more. I wanted more of Simon and Baz. I wanted more on the funny things, about the funny situations. It didn't have that. I didn't enjoy as much. So for me, it's a disappointing book. Comparing where I started, you start on the top, so you have to maintain, or if even you decrease a little bit, you say, oh, well, but it can pass. No, it was a fall down very hard for me, but I still enjoy it. I still laugh in some scenes. I still love following Simon, Baz, and Penelope around America, but I feel it was just a way to put them in a place where the action could happen in England, so they have the third book. I will write it differently, this one, to work a little bit better. Another book that was a disappointment, and this one belonged to a marathon that I did called Estações Literárias, from Anna from the Phoenix Flight and Croma dos Livros. They do a seasonal marathon with 16 categories, and you have to read a book for each category. And the bigger the books, better, because it counts the number of pages. So one of the prompts was a book with a beach cover, and I choose, because I had the Gnome the Beaches by Veronica Henry. And I knew it was a chick lit. I knew it was a romance, and I was okay. I like some books. I like some romances, so why not? It can be enjoyable. At least it breaks a little bit from the fantasies and the hardcore books that I was reading at the time. Some of them I mentioned on my best of 2020, but it was confusing. It follows beach huts, so houses on the beach on England, and you have a lot of stories that it sits on the synopsis. And I thought, well, it all be connected and we'll follow all of them. But no, you have some stories that are just one chapter, a medium chapter, but then it ends, and then it only appears in the total end of the book, and the things are resolved. You don't see the progression of the characters, of the plots. You have alcoholism problems because of a secret, which it's very interesting, and you can see the guilt in the beginning, and then you can see like she's calling her husband to explain, and that's really interesting. And then you just see, okay, they are okay in the end. You don't see the whole process. You have a woman that is not happy in their marriage and starts cheating, but then in the end she's just like falling for the other guy, and you don't see the build-up. We see one of the grandsons who fall in love with his first love, but then we only see that chapter, and then in the end it's resolving things. And then you have small chapters of short stories of people that go to beach huts and have connection with those person, and we follow the main story, who is about a woman whose husband has a lot of debts, and they have to sell the beach hut so they can have money to pay their debts, and the relationship between her sons and her daughters-in-law. Some of them they are not the most enjoyable family to have. They are very snobby, and we follow a little bit of her story, but the other ones fell bland on this one, so it was very confusing. I would like more if this was a collection of short stories passed on the beach hut, but it was like we start and end that story in that 100 pages, and then we start another one and we'll end it, and it goes a little bit like this. We start, we end, we start, we end, and then in the end can be like a reunion like this has, or a connection between all of them. But how this was made, just following one main character and the others like happening here and then they disappear and then they only happen in the end, it felt very confusing and it wasn't enjoyable. I give it 2 stars. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel it was so bad as The Hunting of Greenwilder, but I didn't like it. For me, it lacked a lot of concise work and how things should work. I think it was like, oh, let's write about this, and then we put like character like this, and then we put like someone who's drunk and someone who is having an affair, and mix all together and have a book. No, you should have some plot consistency, and it was a little bit weird. Oh, a thing that was also weird is that in the beginning of the chapters we don't know till 1, 2, 3 pages who is talking about. You know, you are like in the fog or trying to see who is, and so it can be like confused, like what is happening, especially in the beginning when you still don't understand that. No, it didn't work for me. And the last book that disappointed me on 2020 is from my favorite author, but it is Mercy by Jodi Picoult. This book has everything to be perfect and everything to be an enjoyable story, but it failed to deliver what it is. It should be a story about mercy and about what would you do if your loved one asked you to kill him because he's dying of a terminal disease and he doesn't want to suffer anymore, and he asks you to kill you by mercy. And it debates the euthanasia and all that problems and the moral consequences and the law consequences. But that is only happen in the beginning and in the end of the book. The rest of the book is just a husband who is not happy in their marriage, cheating his wife with an anonymous girl who arrived, and they think they are in love because they have different lives. So I will explain you the story. So we have Cameron MacDonald, who is Irish descendant, and he is the leader of the clan of the MacDonalds, and they all live in the same town, and he's the town sheriff. His cousin kills his wife by mercy because she's dying with cancer, and he's terminal, he doesn't have a cure. So, and since he's in the town with his cousin, so they plot a little bit of that. Cameron's wife, Ellie, tries to help Cameron's cousin, and she loves her husband a lot. She does everything for him. She owns a flower shop, which she's very proud. And Cameron is very upset with his life because he wants to travel, but he could because his father died, so he has to step up as the leader of the clan. And when a mysterious girl arrives at town, because she's a traveler, Cameron instantly falls in love with her. Instantly. And starts cheating his wife. The girl, I don't recall her name, but the girl falls in love with Cameron because Cameron has a life. He doesn't travel. He has a family. So you can see they want different things from each other. But they start cheating, and they don't think about Ellie at all. And the girl works in the flower shop with Ellie. Ellie gives her a job. You can see it's very messy. It's not what it should be. I think Ellie's character has a good arc till middle. You know, she starts to understand the things and she empowers herself, but in the end, it dies and she comes back to what it was. It failed to deliver the message of the euthanasia and to talk about that topic. I know this was one of the first books that Jodi Picoult wrote, and maybe because of that, she was not still into difficult topics and she didn't find herself as a writer, because then the books like 90 Minutes, which was on the best of 2020, House Rules, Handle with Care, My Sister's Keeper, even A Sparkle of Light have amazing topics, have amazing discussions, but this one failed to deliver the message and that it was intended. So it was a disappointment for me. So guys, these were my most disappointed books of 2020, the worst if you want to call it, the books that I didn't enjoy so much. Chat with me in the comments, comment down below what books were that you read that you were disappointed, that you thought they were better but they weren't, which were the worst books for you that you read. If any of those you were excited to read but now you're like, maybe I'll not go with so high expectations. I'll post videos every Tuesday, Thursday and sometimes on Saturday. So I see you guys on my next video. Bye.